Ben McKee and Wes Rucker of Go Vols 24/7 here at Lindsey Nelson Stadium following Tennessee's 3-2 thrilling win over Vanderbilt. A heck of a baseball game. Low scoring, but very entertaining. And the gist of it is Liam Doyle was once again dominant. And oh, by the way, that Hunter Ensley guy, pretty good at baseball. Hunter Ensley was Hunter Ensley once again.
Yeah, I think they sent up the bat signal or the hunter signal. Instead of the bat, it's a mustache. And they send it up in the air and he responds. I mean, that was a very postseason-like performance from Hunter Ensley. Although technically he didn't run through the wall, just kind of up to it. And then the slide, I mean, last year's was better. But that was a pretty good slide tonight, too.
When he told me, well, I guess you're talking about the slide at the home plate. I thought you were briefly mentioning, hi, Kirby. Kirby opened the door and waved. So
we should have had Kirby on.
He doesn't want to talk to us. That's why he quickly closed the door and ran. But I thought you were referencing the slide that he had in center to end the game, a little sliding catch. He was telling me, the reason I cut you off rudely and interrupt you is because I asked him about it when he walked in to do media, and he said that those line drives hit directly at him have been miserable this season because of the crane up behind the grandstand at Lindsey Nelson Stadium and all the little spaces of sky, and it's just been real miserable for him, which is kind of why you saw him take a funky angle and slide there at the end. Yeah,
and you saw that. Actually, honestly, the first couple weeks of the season, there were a couple plays like that with him. I was like, I don't think he saw that ball very well. And yeah, I mean, the ball hit right at you as a center fielder is one of the hardest plays in the game anyway. And then you put that on top of it, and yeah, I mean, it throws you for a loop. And in a one-run game, I mean, all that stuff is magnified times a million. I mean, it's one of those games where every single millimeter out there counts right now, and that's what a Tennessee Vanderbilt Friday night game should be. Whether it's here, whether it's Nashville, it should be like a 3-2 game that comes down to the ninth inning, and one team's trying to rally, the other's holding them off, and then see who wins. I mean, it's just hat tip to both. That was a really good game.
Well, yeah, and expanding on Hunter before we get back to Liam, is his play was phenomenal, but it also represents kind of how he led the charge coming into the week. You and I on our podcast this week talked about how there were some come to Jesus meetings and some text messages over the team group chat of encouragement, and Hunter Ensley and Dalton Bargo were the two that were sending the text messages of encouragement. And this is Hunter's team. He's the leader on the team. He stepped up in terms of voicing that early in the week coming off of the Auburn loss, and it was reflected not only with his words or text messages, but in the way that he played tonight as well.
Yeah, and you can tell that's not a natural role for him. If you see a guy like Liam Doyle, big personality. Hunter Ensley, not so much. I mean, he's a guy that maybe when he talks, you're like, oh, is he talking right now? I should
quiet country boy from West Tennessee.
That's what he is, right there for by way of a 49 population town in Alaska. And yeah, I mean, quite the story just for him overall. But I mean, it's. Sometimes you just kind of have to lead by example. Like, you can't make somebody be something they're not. I say this all the time. Teams should just be the best version of what they can be. Players should be the best version of what they can be. If it's loud, then be loud. If it's like Liam Doyle and you're doing all the stuff he does, do that. If it's Hunter Ensley, do that. But there are times where these guys are going to look to him. Whether they mean to or not, they're going to look to him. And he's got to have the answers, and he's a guy who's had the answers. And if nothing else, the way he plays, I mean, just when you need him, he's just always there.
Yeah, and on the Liam Doyle front, he was also here for Tennessee this week, and he was dominant tonight. Liam Doyle was Liam Doyle. There were 2 mock drafts this week that had him going number 2 overall to the Angels, which I know Tennessee fans would enjoy, given SEMO is already with the Angels with Ben Joyce as well. He lived up to the hype in that regard in terms of how he pitched, but I thought what was most impressive was with him being projected as the number 2 overall pick this week, he didn't care to pick the baseball up on Sunday. Even if he knew it was going to be 2 to 3 innings, he didn't care to pick the baseball up, and he didn't care to make his routine start here on Friday night when in 2 months he's going to get possibly a double-digit million signing bonus, if not very close to 10 mil on the signing bonus.
Yeah, and I mean, I kind of like Doyle to the Angels because him being kind of the irritant little brother ace to over there to the Dodgers, that could be really,
fun.
If he were either Met or like God, I hate to say White Sox, that's not a major league team, but somebody like that could be a really interesting fit for him. But yeah, I mean, it's just he's bleeding on the ball because of that blister, and people laugh all the time, like, oh, it's a blister. Like, these guys need to feel the ball. Like, it's important, right? Yep. Like, you can't just numb it because they got to feel the ball. And when you're bleeding on the ball, that's hard, man. But he'll go out there. He'll pitch 3 times in a week if you need to. Like, if they go to Omaha, I guarantee you, or something like that. I know the schedule is different than it used to be, but like if they need something, they'll ask him like, "Hey, would you mind?" Some guys would tell you to buzz off.
They've had guys that have told them to buzz off.
And honestly, I've said this before. I don't blame those guys in some situations because my arm's not worth millions. Yours is, and theirs is. So I mean, it is what it is. But like, dude wants to win, man.
Yep.
Like he's been trying to win. He went to Coastal Carolina, and they didn't win as much as he wanted. He's like, I want to win more. Goes to Ole Miss. They didn't win as much as he wanted. He wants to go. The dude just wants to win.
Yep.
He just wants to win, and he's performing. I mean, I think now the conversation is not is he the best pitcher in the country. It's is he the best player in the country? Because there's no question right now, with respect to the guy at LSU, some other dudes out there. But he's. I mean, it's one of the. His numbers are so good that it's kind of like Skeens in that you're asking yourself, is he also just the best player in the country? Because normally you don't give pitchers those awards, but he's got to be up there.
He does. I want to highlight one more player, and not just because one more player is only worth recognizing, because Chris Newstrom had a phenomenal.
Suck. Yeah.
Wes said that, not Ben McKee. Actually, Sam Smith said that. But Chris Newstrom had a wonderful 12-pitch at bat. He struck out, but wonderful at bat. Hunter Ensley pointed out in his post-game media availability that the next inning Tennessee scored a run, their third run, and he kind of credited Newstrom working that 12-pitch at bat against the Vanderbilt ace J.D. Thompson. Manny Marin had a big. Newstrom also had a bunt in there, but Manny Marin had the RBI single the next inning. Dean Curley had a couple of big hits, had the big play on Hunter Ensley's catch at the wall to spot the Vanderbilt baseball runner when he passed second, did not step back on second when going back to first base. They doubled him up. That was when Liam Doyle's blister was starting to pop up. Nate Snead was phenomenal. I mean, 101.
The Dragon, he was back to the Dragon.
Yeah, 101, dotting the fastball. Dylan Lloyd gave up the home run but looked good in his first at bat. Tanner Franklin looked pretty good as well. So it was a great team effort. But Dalton Bargo sparked it. And I mentioned earlier that it was Ensley and Bargo kind of sending the positive text messages earlier in the week and leading by words, also leading by example. Bargo's one that kind of flies under the radar. He's not going to get as much credit tonight as he should. He scored the first run of the game after a leadoff double in the second, and then drove in Ensley later on in the game for their second run.
Yeah, it's one of the oldest and worst cliches that exist in our profession. But like, if you look up baseball player in a dictionary, or now you wouldn't be a dictionary, you'd be online, dictionary.com, I guess, give them a plug. But you see Dalton Bargo.
Right.
Because we talk about Liam Doyle wanting the ball every day. He doesn't care. He'll just go out there and throw. Dalton Bargo will go play anywhere on that field. If they asked him to catch tomorrow, he would be the first one there. He'd have a smile on his face. He'd get the gear. He'd watch some video. He'd talk to the pitcher, and he'd be ready to go. You were like, hey, Ensley's, he's got a little hamstring or something. You go play center field, he'd be okay, cool, yeah. He'll go do it, and he'll probably do it adequately. He is just a baseball player, man, and that's why, he wasn't even supposed to be here. They were a couple years ago in the portal looking at other guys, and they're like, you sure you want to come here? And he's like, yeah, I do. And he wants to be here. Tony Vitello all the time felt awful last season, trying to get him in the lineup as much as he could, and he couldn't do it, and because he wants him in there. And you can see why. If you just give him the sample size, you're going to start seeing it, and we're seeing it this season. He is a hell of a baseball player and a really, really important player for this team.
Absolutely. Tennessee wins 3-2. They've now won 11 of the last 13. Against Vanderbilt, which if you would have told me that when I was a student in 2016 and 17, almost a decade ago, when I was sitting back when the student section was above the home team's dugout and Vanderbilt was the class of baseball, and they still are to a certain extent, but if you would have told me that Tennessee at one point relatively quickly is going to win 11 of 13 at one point, I would have not believed you. I would have drug tested you. So
and doing it that way too, mostly good defense throughout the night, didn't walk guys.
Nope.
They just played the game. This rivalry is so great for so many reasons, and it's that they're both great programs led by great coaches, and they do it differently, and that's what an in-state fun rivalry should be. And I'll tell you, it was really important for me. But the last thing I got to say is, Tennessee had to win the Doyle game.
Yep.
It's just you saw the second he came off the mound, they were fine, they held on, but things change when he's not on the mound, and they've got to win one of these next two. They have got to do that, because you can't keep losing a series when there's 3 games and one of them's a Liam Doyle game. You just can't do that. So they needed this one tonight, and they got it.
They absolutely did, and now they'll go for the series win tomorrow night, tomorrow afternoon, evening. I don't know how to classify 5 p.m. I guess late
Twilight
afternoon,
night?
early
I don't know.
evening. I don't know. First
Matinee,
pitch,
late matinee?
5 p.m. Eastern tomorrow. Marcus Phillips will be on the rubber trying to break a 3-series losing streak at home for the Vols. He's Wes Rucker. I'm Ben McKee.